installation of trailer accessories with locations in Ocala and Ormond Beach to serve all of Central Florida. Call 1-888-622-1816. Again, that's 1-888-622-1816.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 24 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking Monday morning. Tomorrow is the 103rd anniversary of the sabotage at Black Tom.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Have you ever heard of the sabotage at Black Tom?
Never have.
Well, let me ask you something. What world event happened that caused the United States to enter World War I?
That I never really knew.
You don't have to answer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But you might have said the sinking of the Lusitania, right? You might have said that.
Okay.
The sinking of the Lusitania, however, happened in 1915. We didn't enter the war till 1917. So why the long wait?
Yeah.
128 Americans died on the Lusitania when it was sunk by a German submarine. So that was 1915. But in 1916, on July 30th, 1916, there was something else called the sabotage of Black Tom. And that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, that put us into World War I. Why we're told it was the sinking of the Lusitania is not clear. But when I tell you about the sabotage at Black Tom, if you tell me you've already known about this, well, good for you. Mm-hmm. I never heard of this at all. So, first of all, this was an attack on U.S. soil in 1916 in Jersey City. Can you believe this? 1916 happened in Jersey City, New Jersey. Mm. The explosion was so immense that it broke windows for a 5-mile radius, including Lower Manhattan.
That is something.
It severely damaged the Statue of Liberty. And after that, nobody ever went up into the arm of the Statue of Liberty again. The Statue of Liberty's arm, the torch where people used to be able to go as tourists and stand and look out at New York Harbor, was closed after the sabotage at Black Tom.
Gosh.
So let me read to you what I have here. It was dark in Manhattan on a Sunday morning, July 30th, 1916. I think 2 a.m. if what I remember reading earlier. So tonight, 2 o'clock after midnight tonight, is the 103rd anniversary of this event. The sky suddenly exploded with unnatural brightness. 2 million tons of war materials packed into train cars had been blown up.
My God.
They were blown up at the railroad yard. The railroad yard was called Black Tom, the Black Tom Railroad Yard. It is now part of Liberty State Park. You went to Liberty Island, Robin, with your family just a month or so ago.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
You're on Liberty Island. And from Liberty Island, as you know, Jersey City is just a stone's throw away. Mm-hmm. You can see Jersey City across the way. In fact, a lot of people think the Statue of Liberty is in New York. The truth is it's in, this is a debatable thing.
Yeah.
It's on the Jersey side of the line, but technically it's considered New York property. Don't call I know that part of the story. Mm-hmm. Anyway, windows in Lower Manhattan, windows in Jersey City were all broken by this explosion. Shrapnel hit everything in the area, including the Statue of Liberty, severely damaged the Statue of Liberty. 3 men and a baby were killed by the explosion that erupted from the act of sabotage. Who did this? Who was at war at that time? Who sunk Who sunk the Lusitania? The Germans did.
Yes.
German agents who were determined to prevent American munitions shippers from supplying the English, who were in the war at that point, but we were not, during the First World War. Officially, the United States was neutral at this point, but they decided to set fires all over the island at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it caused the explosion that caused the now infamous Black Tom 1916 bombing I told you about.
And they were able to infiltrate.
They were able to infiltrate.
Able to infiltrate. That's the scary part.
With few national security laws and no real intelligence community, America was very vulnerable. The Secret Service, by presidential order, was able to investigate some German attacks. The Bureau of Investigation, the FBI's predecessor, did whatever it could. It was held back by its small size. They only had 260 employees at that time. The most successful anti-sabotage investigators turned out to be the detectives of the New York City Police Department.
Gosh, of course.
But even back then, they had a bomb squad, believe it or not.
I believe it. I believe it.
The Black Tom German agents who blew up that area were not identified at the time. Congress addressed the vulnerability. The explosion was not the only provocation when Germany proposed to Mexico that it become an ally with Germany against America. Congress also resumed unrestricted submarine warfare on any enemy or neutral ship crossing the Atlantic. America declared war as a result of the Black Tom bombing. We were told it was the sinking of the Lusitania.
Yeah, but this is, oh my gosh. I mean, why? I just don't recall this being taught to me at my high school.
No!
This is horrible. This is like the act of terrorism.
I lived across the river from it.
Wow.
I mean, we're told, Pearl Harbor gets us into World War II. Well, that's kind of far for a kid in school to take a field trip.
Yeah.
But if you told me that Jersey City or Liberty Island, right?
Right.
Or that whole area, that tiny area right there, if you had told me that's where World War I started, I think I would have paid more attention. I don't know why that is, but that's just the way I am.
Well, it's the way everybody is, to have it right there in your own backyard. I mean, oh my gosh.
Anyway, as a result of the Black Tom explosions, Congress passed the Espionage Act. Remember, this is 103 years ago tonight.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The Espionage Act outlawed a variety of crimes associated with German agents, passed several other wartime laws, then the following year passed the Sabotage Act, and the Bureau exercised primary jurisdiction over all of these laws as it pursued a wide variety of national security investigations.
Gosh.
How about that, Robin?
That is amazing.
We had people in our country who meant to do us harm, and they went undetected, and they were able to do that harm. Does it sound familiar?
Yes, it does. It sure does. This is way before 9/11.
The Bureau that preceded the FBI eventually were able to identify the saboteurs. They pursued the case after the war until the saboteurs were identified, and ultimately reparations were paid.
Wow.
For German attacks against our country during the time of neutrality.
Wow. Wow. You can run, but you can't hide.
World War I was already in happening. It was already happening for 2 years by the time this happened. World War I officially 1915. 75% of all ammunition and armaments shipped from the United States to Europe went out with a radius of 5 miles of City Hall in Lower Manhattan. So most of the ammunition that we were sending to our allies were coming out of that part of the world.
Gosh.
The Black Tom incident is considered the single most important assembly and shipping center in America for munitions and gunpowder at that time. It probably housed the most expensive arsenal anywhere outside of the war zone itself.
And those infiltrators must have been here for a while, and they must have made friends. And, oh my God. That how can people live with themselves knowing that they're going to murder? Oh my God!
How many of you have never heard of this? I'm just curious if you've never heard of this.
I've never.
The first of the Black Tom explosions was felt at 2:08 a.m. 103 years ago tonight.
Gosh.
A half hour later, there was a second blast. At least 5 people were killed, including the baby I just told you about in Jersey City, who was thrown from his crib.
Oh.
There was an estimated $20 million in damage. Remember, this is 1916.
Yeah.
So we did the math. That works out to about $500 million today. The blasts were wreaking havoc at the site as well as in the area. The Black Tom Promontory was a charred ruin. 13 warehouses were leveled. 6 piers were destroyed. The fires continued to eat their way through the remains and consume hundreds of railroad cars and barges tied to the docks. At one point, a huge cavern was hewed out of the earth by the explosions of 87 dynamite-laden railroad cars.
Oh, my God.
Put a crater. It put a crater, Robin. The blast excavated a hole so deep that it extended below sea level, which is not hard to do right there.
Yeah.
Water seeped in until a vast pond was created. Wow.
Gosh.
In the aftermath of the explosions, law enforcement agents quickly arrested officials from the railroad, blaming them.
Yeah, for not realizing that these guys were infiltrators. Mm-hmm. But the bad guys always make themselves very believable.
Investigators were unable to determine whether the disaster was the result of safety violations, because they didn't know yet about the saboteurs. One thing the authorities initially seemed to agree on was that the explosions were not the work of saboteurs. They were wrong. It took years for a team of American lawyers to find sufficient evidence that showed that, in fact, the disaster had been plotted by the Germans. The lawyers used Germany in the Mixed Claims Commission at The Hague, and in 1939 won the case, just as we're getting ready to enter World War II.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Germany, under the rule of Hitler, failed to pay up the reparations that were being demanded. The settlement wasn't renegotiated until the early 1950s.
Oh, my God.
The last payment was made to the claimants of the Black Tom explosion, 1979.
Wow.
So it took until 1979 for some of the final money to be paid in reparations for the explosions at Black Tom.
63 years. Wow.
Fire at the National Storage House, one of the plants blown up by the explosion, is currently on the internet. If you want to look at it, there's a photo. The Black Tom site is part of New Jersey's Liberty State Park. Nearby at the Statue of Liberty, a legacy of the disaster remains. Due to the damage the statue sustained on July 30th, 1916, again, 103 years ago tomorrow, the torch has been closed to the public for the last century.
Wow.
I have had people tell me they remember going into the torch. Well, they must be pretty old.
Yeah, I would say.
I think people are having a mismemory or something.
I think so too, because it was closed in 1916. I've heard people say that too. Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so tomorrow's the 103rd anniversary of that attack, and I just wanted to share that with you, thinking to myself, am I the only one who never heard of this? So
I never have.
So there you go. And there's actually a book by Jules Whitcover, Witcover. It's called Sabotage at Black Tom. Mm-hmm. And it actually tells you this and more of the things I just told you. Some of the things I just told you, by the way, are from that book.
I like to read everything when I go places, and I must have missed this plaque at both on the the Statue of Liberty Island, because we read everything.
Well, I don't think the plaque is at the Statue Liberty Island.
Liberty Island.
No, I don't think the plaque is there. The plaque is in Jersey City.
Oh, okay. Because you said the park was named after it, or Liberty Park or something.
No, Liberty Park is named, because of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people will go to the Statue of Liberty. Everybody doesn't go from Battery Park to the Statue of Liberty. Mm-hmm. A lot of people go there from Jersey City.
We'll have to look. I'll have to make it a point to visit Jersey City then when I'm up there next.
Well,
To look at this.
We'll go to the Black Tom Memorial. It's where you will find it.
Yeah, but I've never heard of it, and I'm so glad you brought this to my attention.
All right, let me look it up.
Because this is, and how come this wasn't mentioned during the 9/11 attacks? I mean, this is a huge terrorist attack.
Well, that is a question that when they say the first attacks on U.S. soil since Pearl Harbor, they're telling the truth, because this one was obviously way before Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Yeah, so the word sense then is the operative word, but wow, I've never heard of this.
The Black Tom Explosion Memorial. This story begins with a chance discovery in a small Catholic church in Jersey City, situated near the waterfront in the old part of town. Our Lady of Czechkawa, I'm probably saying that wrong, has been ministering to the Polish community since 1870. In the western apse is a traditional stained glass window depicting a funeral scene. Written in the glass are the words, oh my gosh, something in Polish, which means funded by the parishioners after the explosion of 1916.
Wow.
Given its date and its country of origin, it would appear to be a war memorial remembering some event in Europe during the First World War. However, the story behind the stained glass is a chilling one that occurred much closer to home, involving German saboteurs, the largest terrorism act on U.S. soil prior to the September 11th attacks, and damage to America's preeminent national landmark with repercussions which are still felt today.
Oh, my God.
I would debate that. I would say that Pearl Harbor would be in there, too.
Yeah, sure.
In 1914, Imperial Germany sent Count Johann von Bernstorff to be its new ambassador in Washington, D.C., but Bernstorff's staff of diplomats were not all as they seemed, for these bureaucrats were a veritable army of undercover spies and saboteurs, arriving with millions of dollars to aid the German war effort by sabotage and illicit destruction.
Wow, so those saboteurs were here at least 2 years then.
Yeah.
Before they set fire.
Among the principal targets were the endless supplies of munition that the neutral U.S. was selling to Great Britain and France. In 1916, over 2 million tons of explosives were in storage on an island called Black Tom, ready to sail across the Atlantic. Black Tom was a small island between New Jersey and Liberty Island, and soon caught the attentions of von Bernstorff and his saboteurs. On the night of July 30th, 1916, Black Tom disappeared. Black Tom Island disappeared.
Gosh.
The island disappeared. Just after 2 a.m., slow-burning pencil bombs planted by the German agents ignited an explosion so colossal it registered 5.5 on the Richter scale as glass windows shattered in Times Square and St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Gosh.
Think about how far St. Patrick's is from Liberty Island.
Yeah, exactly.
The blast shook the Brooklyn Bridge, was felt as far away as Philadelphia and Maryland.
Wow.
The Statue of Liberty felt the full blast and was showered with shrapnel and exploding bullets and shells. FBI investigations named 2 guards at Black Tom as the likely culprits. The guards turned out to be German agents Kurl Janke and Lothar Witzke, but both escaped. An explosion in 1917 at the Mare Island Naval Shipyard in Vallejo, California, was also attributed to them.
Oh, my God.
When the U.S. finally responded to Germany's secret war of attrition by declaring war in 1917, Janke and Witzke fled to Mexico. Black Tom Island was reconstructed with landfill and is today the southeastern part of New Jersey's Liberty State Park. Today, the park is a popular picnic spot in the summer, with families taking advantage of the close-up views of the Statue of Liberty. But in the corner of the picnic area is a simple plaque, often passed by, which reads, quote, "You are walking on a site which saw one of the worst acts of terrorism in American history," unquote.
See, that's what I mean. I like to read everything, but I didn't see the plaque there on Liberty Island.
That's not on Liberty Island. That's in Liberty State Park in Jersey City.
Oh, the state park is in Jersey State. is
correct.
in Jersey
Correct.
City.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. There it is.
We told you a couple of deaths in these readings earlier, but this sentence says it's not known how many people died or were injured in the explosion. Mm-hmm. Presumably, the congregation of Our Lady of Chautauqua were hit hardest, which led to the commemorating of the attack with the stained glass memorial. The Lehigh Valley Railroad, which owned Black Tom Island, sought compensation against Germany, who settled on a payment of $50 million, which was finally paid in 1979, as we just read earlier.
Gosh. Gee.
Wow.
And that's something that those two guys could do, that infiltrate, and then a year later they infiltrated someplace else and blew that up, and then there was a massive manhunt on for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. See, bad guys will eventually get caught.
Let's see if I can find that book on Amazon. What was it called again?
Yeah.
The Sabotage at Black Tom?
Black Tom.
Let me see if I can find it real quickly.
Okay.
Sabotage at Black Tom. Yep, it looks like it's on here. Yep, Sabotage at Black Tom by Jules Whitcover. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's only $3.18, but it's a cheap book.
Wow, it's because nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
This is something that needs to be taught.
Yeah.
In the history classes.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine. Yeah, I know. And you know what? One of the pushbacks is when you talk about saboteurs coming into our country and all the checks and balances that we supposedly have to make sure that people who come across our borders are vetted, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It all stems back to some of these kinds of events.
Sure it does. Sure it does.
But for whatever reason, we don't like to admit that stuff happens. You know.
Yeah, the powers that be want to erase history. They want to erase it, and they don't want to follow the rules and just let everybody in. So
if you're from Jersey, you might know that, especially if you're from Jersey City. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of stuff that happened in your own backyard that you just didn't realize.
Exactly.
Was real close. You read about it in history. You live on planet Earth. Guess what? It's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
All right. We will take a little break. Dr. Buck Blodgett is coming on. He's the founder of the Love is Greater Than Hate Project. He's got a sad but encouraging story to tell you. It's a message from Jessie. Jessie was his daughter. She was murdered. And he has written a book with the subtitle, The Incredible True Story of Murder and Miracles in the Heartland. Dr. Buck Blodgett, when we return, this is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
It's time for the 37th annual Ocala Shrine Rodeo. Thursday, August 29th. Don't miss bullfighters only. The baddest animals on the planet. Rodeo action Friday and Saturday, August 30th and 31st, 7:30 nightly at the Southeastern Livestock Pavilion. For information, check out OcalaShrineRodeo.com. OcalaShrineRodeo.com. Bullfighters only in the Ocala Shrine Rodeo. Don't miss it.
Hi, this is Will.
And this is Wendy of Dex Imaging in Gainesville and Ocala. You know, we live and work in this community just like you, and we wanted to personally invite you to call us with any questions or concerns about your copiers or printers.
Like, how can I save money on my toner? That stuff's expensive.
In most cases, a complimentary workflow analysis has shown we can save your business 20 to 30% on printing cost.
Have you been kicking around the idea of going paperless? Are you considering a document management solution? Maybe you just want to ask some questions, but don't want to be bombarded by aggressive salespeople.
Give us a call. We'll be happy to answer your questions and show you how you can save money with our award-winning copiers and printers and our amazing service team.
Who, in case you didn't know, will be there in 4 hours or less to service your machine guaranteed, and we have a 97% first-time fix rate. Check us out at deximaging.com or give us a call.
In Ocala, dial 352-433-4090. That's 433-4090.
Honey Baked Ham at 2709 Southwest 27th Avenue has new management. For our listeners, they're offering a 10% discount. Just mention this ad.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. We know how the gunman got past security at the Gilroy Garlic Festival, but there's still a lot they don't know.
Police are searching for a motive as well as for a possible second suspect after a day of fun and food turned into an afternoon of panic and bloodshed.
Fox's Claudia Cowan, 3 victims killed, including a 6-year-old boy.
The police chief says the suspect managed to get around the security screeners and metal detectors at the entrance by